Look at what else is making news this Tuesday, and we start with breaking news from Sydney, where 4 people are in hospital after a fire broke out at a unit block in Surry Hills. Around 30 people were evacuated from the complex on Crown Street just after midnight, but the building was destroyed by the flames. Firefighters extinguished the blaze quickly, with a crime scene now in place. A woman has died and a man is in hospital after a gunman went on a wild rampage on the Sunshine Coast. The 41-year-old allegedly caused a multi-vehicle crash on the Bruce Highway, killing a 22-year-old woman before shooting a man in an SUV and fleeing in his car. Police say the stolen vehicle was later found overturned before the suspect carjacked a learner driver.
Look, I'm not going to speculate on what causes people to do these sorts of things, you know. Like I said, I've given up trying to work out why people do stuff.
The gunman was arrested a short time later and remains in hospital under police guard. Well, with just 11 days until election day, early voters can hit the polls from today. Thousands of voting hubs are open nationwide from 8:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m, with postal or telephone voting also in play for anyone working, travelling or outside their electorate on May 3. Early birds can head to the AEC website with their postcodes to find their nearest early voting centre. Tributes are flowing in for Sydney mother T. Kim Tran as police investigate whether her death is linked to Asian crime gangs. The 45-year-old was abducted from her Bankstown home last week. Her body later found in a torched SUV nearby. Detectives suspect Ms. Tran may have been targeted because someone close to her had ripped off a drug gang. Her husband was on an interstate trip at the time and is not accused of any crime. 4 masked thugs have terrorised a lone worker at a Melbourne IGA, threatening him with a machete. The gang stormed the South Yarra supermarket around midnight yesterday, holding the employee and slapping him as they took cigarettes and cash. The store owner said the robbery didn't come as a great surprise.
We always knew that something's going to happen. It was just a matter of when. It was pretty daunting for us, but for them it's like a walk in the park. They can just barge into any other store, tell them give me this, give me that, and walk off.
It comes after revelations that young criminals are being paid by crime bosses to steal cigarettes at $5 a pack, which are then sold in illicit tobacco stores. An Adelaide learner driver is expected to be fined by police after allegedly crashing a sedan into a tree and running off as it burst into flames. Investigators quickly catching up with 2 18-year-olds after the driver and passenger were seen fleeing the scene outside a home yesterday morning.
I heard the bang, shook the house a bit, ran out, seen 2 people running past.
Guy in the passenger seat, just immediately just ran out. And yeah, just 5 seconds later, the other guy managed to get out.
They were both taken to hospital for minor injuries after being checked over by paramedics. Well, a 16-year-old Sydney Swans AFL fan has been banned from the SCG after he threw a paper banner at Port Adelaide player Alia. The incident happened at the start of the 4th quarter during Sunday's match, the object landing at the player's feet. The fan has been banned for 2 years. North Queensland's iconic Great Barrier Reef could soon bag the United Nations Top Eco Prize at the Champions of Earth Awards. Guardian councils, alongside marine experts and tourism heavyweights, have banded together to back the reef's nomination. If successful, it'll make waves as the award's first non-human recipient, joining previous victors like Sir David Attenborough. Well, the WWE is heading back to Perth with superstar John Cena to headline a 3-night event in October. It'll be the last chance for Aussies to see the wrestler down under before he quits the ring and retires.
This October, John Cena lands in Perth for a full-scale WWE takeover.
This will be the exclusive Australian appearance. In fact, it will be the only appearance that he will make in Australia, New Zealand and Southeast Asia.
Exactly when tickets will go on sale and how much they'll cost is yet to be revealed. Let's go live to today's Jack Hahn, who is at St Mary's Cathedral in Sydney. Jack, good morning to you. What's the reaction been like here in Australia?
Yeah, good morning to you, Ali. Look, the words that are being used here at St Mary's Cathedral by the Archbishop himself, grief and gratitude. Grief that the fact that the Pope has passed away, but also gratitude for the work and the mark that he has left on the Catholic Church right around the world. It should certainly be pointed out that the Pope never made it here, but he did have an affinity with Australians. He often would select Australians to go to the Senate there at Vatican City, and of course he was the first Pope from the Southern Hemisphere, so this news will be hitting Australians hard. We know that more than 5 million Australians are registered Catholics according to the census in 2021. We have heard from a wide range of people, each and every single Premier and Chief Minister for the states and territories right around the country. We've also heard from the Governor-General, Sam Mostyn, and I want to bring her statement up to read to you. In part, it says that I extend my respect and remembrance to the Catholic community in Australia and around the world, as millions of Australians and millions of Catholics mourn the loss of a spiritual guide, father and friend. We can reflect on His Holiness, and that statement goes on to point out many of the amazing attributes that the Pope had. So we are expecting plenty of services right around the country today. This news did, of course, come as somewhat of a shock. We knew that the Pope was in ill health, but the news of his actual passing was somewhat of a shock. So we are still waiting to hear on exact times of special services that will be held right around the country. So far, Sydney and Perth are the only two capital cities that have locked-in services. Here in Sydney, the first one at 6:45, followed by one at 1:10, and then one this evening at 5:30, while in Perth at St Mary's Cathedral on St George's Terrace there will be a service at 10:12. But Ali, as we get more information as the cathedrals wake up and lock-in times, we'll pass them along to you on Today.
Yeah, Jack Hahn at St Mary's Cathedral in Sydney. Thank you, Jack. And look, the messages for the Pope are coming in from around the world. King Charles says he and Queen Camilla have heavy hearts after Pope Francis's death. In a statement, the monarch said although they are deeply saddened by the pontiff's passing, they were relieved he was able to share an Easter greeting with the church, adding the Pope will be remembered for his compassion, his concern for the unity of the church, and for his tireless commitment to the common causes of all people of faith and to those of goodwill who work for the benefit of others. Charles went on to say, the Queen and I remember with particular affection our meetings with His Holiness over the years, and we were greatly moved to have been able to visit him earlier in the month. Now to our US correspondent, Jonathan Kersley at St Charles Borromeo Catholic Church in Los Angeles. Jono, good morning to you. Leaders around the world are mourning Pope Francis.
They are, as the bells toll here at St Charles Borromeo Church in Los Angeles. US President Donald Trump spoke from the White House earlier today. He was a world leader who had a fraught relationship with the Pope. They met back in 2017. Pope Francis had criticised his plans for a border wall, and as recently as February he outed his renewed immigration plans. But speaking earlier from the White House, America's Commander-in-Chief had this to say in tribute to the Pontiff.
He was a good man, worked hard, he loved the world.
Donald Trump says he does not know yet if he plans to attend the funeral service of Pope Francis, but he did say that flags across the country will be lowered at half-mast. His Vice President J.D. Vance was the last of the world leaders to meet with Pope Francis, that taking place on Easter Sunday, just a matter of hours before his passing. The Vice President took to social media to say, "My heart goes out to the millions of Christians all over the world who loved him. I was happy to see him yesterday, though he was obviously very ill." Tributes too from former US President Barack Obama, who said Pope Francis was the rare leader who made us want to be better people. Pope Francis often prayed for peace around the world, in places none more so than Ukraine. That country's wartime leader, Volodymyr Zelensky, also joining the chorus of world leaders paying tribute to say he knew how to give hope, ease suffering through prayer and foster unity. He prayed for peace in Ukraine and for Ukrainians. World leaders really trying to get a sense of who Pope Francis was and portray that to the world. Sir Keir Starmer saying Pope Francis was a pope for the poor, the downtrodden and the forgotten. That the British Prime Minister giving his statement there. In Pope Francis's home city of Buenos Aires in Argentina, there have been mourners also reflecting on the life of the man who was 88 when he passed. There are 1.4 billion Catholics estimated right around the world, and they are now starting the long journey to say goodbye to the world's 266th Pope. Ali?
US correspondent Jonathan Kersley in Los Angeles. Thank you, Jono.